You're watching Access Asia on France 24. I'm Molly Hall. Coming up in today's show, the battle for Mindanao. The Moro Islamic Liberation Front wants to make a caliphate on the Philippine island. Our reporters meet with the group's elusive leader. And India's sand mafia. The country's development has spiked demand for building materials. That's led to a rise in illegal sand extraction. Plus, giving Made in China a makeover. Chinese brands take on the global luxury market. But first, the Philippines is a predominantly Christian country. The southern island of Mindanao is home to a majority of its Muslim community. Here, separatist ambitions are nothing new. Various armed groups are fighting for the island's independence. Chief among them is the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, whose goal is to establish a caliphate on Mindanao. Our reporters went to meet its leader.
This is Commander Bravo, one of the most elusive Islamic guerrillas in the Philippines. To meet him, we had to travel undercover in a region plagued by violence and radicalism. Our investigation begins in the city of Moro, the Islamic pearl of Mindanao, in the southern Philippines. Moro is unique. Life here is ruled under Sharia law, the Islamic law. But Moro is also notorious for its trafficking and kidnappings organized by local warlords. Aga Khan Sharif, also known as Bin Laden, is one of them. He is a candidate for vice governor, but ironically provides support to Muslim rebels. Bin Laden is close to the man we are looking for. He agreed to try to take us to him.
In his camp in Lanao del Sur, not so good because his group is one of the suspects for the alleged ambush of brother.
We drive several hours to the east through the province of Lanao. We get past many army checkpoints, luckily without any problems. Finally, in a remote village, our van stops. With our guides, we will soon leave the main road to go deeper into the mountains. We are heading into the rebel-controlled area. We have to turn off our cameras. This is one of the most wanted men in the Philippines. Commander Bravo is a former jihadist who started his career fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Pero ang Amerikano, nadi may pakabalingan. Uwi na sera na France, napakabalingan.
You are very lucky because you are not American. Because if you are an American, you will you can't go.
Bin Laden has made this long journey to obtain Commander Bravo's support. Although living in hiding, his influence weighs heavily on the entire region. Bin Laden's campaign video provides a glimpse of the key ideas that are flourishing in Moro: the defense of Islam, insurrection, and creating a sultanate.
I wish you success for all the Muslims. God willing, God is great.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Some people in the West say that ISIS is coming here. What is your answer to that?
Well, yes, of course, in this region there are some local cells of the Islamic State group. But as far as I know, they have no foreigners to supervise them yet. But you know, we have a common goal with the local Islamic State, the supremacy of Islam. So I hope we will soon unite. There are many young volunteers here who left to fight in Syria and Iraq, but they did so on their own initiative. In the old days, we would not leave for Afghanistan without first receiving a formal order to do so. This is why nowadays it's difficult to control these young fighters.
There are Philippine army positions less than a kilometer away. But Commander Bravo wants to demonstrate that he is the real master in this territory.
Assalamualaikum.
We are born here. We will not go anywhere.
Don't worry, I'm here to protect you. Since 2000, all of them have been with me in our battles. Here it's victory or martyrdom.
We are traveling back by night to Moro with a rebel escort.
This is our protection. Last 2 days ago, there were killing happened in Bangulo. There were many kidnap victims in this city, especially in Lanao del Sur, no? Just like rotting city.
Several armed groups here have pledged allegiance to ISIS. We join a secret meeting with a group of young militants.
We have more than 3,000 ulamas, so the largest among the tribes in Mindanao and in the Sulu Islands. So we can expect that the level of awareness is too high in Lanao and Marawi. That's why we can expect a lot of anti-imperialism and all this kind of stuff.
It's about time that the Imperial Manila should know the true cause of the Moros, why they are fighting for this right to self-determination. Most of those who are living in these two provinces sympathizes with the idea of that Islamic State must be supreme.
These are our last hours in Marawi. At dawn, we will leave the pearl of Islam that seems to be slipping more into chaos each day.
Next, sand mining in India is big business. The country's development has led to a rising need for building materials like concrete. Sand is in such demand that extractors have been accused of using mafia-like tactics, and there's major concern over its environmental impact. Our Josh Vardy reports.
Boats gather on the shores of this river mouth near Mumbai. Their dilapidated vessels may resemble those used by fishermen, but these men are turning profits through a new trade. They're extracting sand. It starts with the divers, who use a pole to descend more than 15 meters to reach the riverbed. They freedive, using no equipment. At the bottom, they fill up their buckets, which they send back to the surface with a sharp tug on the rope. It's left to the men on the boat to drag the heavy bucket back up as their colleague makes his way back to the surface.
When there's a current, it becomes very hard to dive. But when the water is calm, it's okay. Today, there's no problem.
Many of these men used to be fishermen, but fish are getting scarcer here and it's become harder to make a living. The sand is the paymaster now. Divers make around 12 euros a day, a relatively high salary.
I've worked here for 5 years. I didn't have a job, so my two brothers brought me here to work with them. That's how I started. And that's how we earn money.
Each team brings up around 4 tons of sand a day. It's a completely illegal practice, but authorities turn a blind eye in the face of spiraling demand.
The development which we see happening across the country is a blessing. The construction is happening so fast that they need us. The more demand there is, the more money we make.
India plans to build around 100 new towns in the next 30 years to accommodate an urban population due to hit 580 million by 2030. Thousands of tons of sand are used in construction every day, and there's always a need for more. This site has everything needed to extract sand at an industrial level: cranes, tugboats, pumps. But it's unofficial and therefore illegal. Sumaira Abdullali is an environmental activist. She's here to take photos of the activity before making an official complaint.
And there seems to be kilometers and kilometers of sand stocks here.
These black market sand extractors have been accused of using methods like extortion, intimidation and corruption to protect their financial interests. The sand mines can also permanently destroy the environment.
It's not inexhaustible. There have been certain areas where the sand stocks are completely finished. Whole islands have vanished. When you take away sand, then you have saline water going into the ground table. You're making water scarcer, so it's very closely tied in with water security, with the land itself, which is getting eroded, or landslides are taking place, people's lands are getting ruined.
More than 40 billion tons of sand are used every year around the world, according to the UN. Sand has become the third most precious human commodity after water and air.
Next, when it comes to luxury, New York, Paris, and London are pillars of the industry. But it's Chinese consumers who are driving the sales. Last year, they made up the largest portion of global luxury purchases. We take a look at Chinese brands that are spiffing up the Made in China label.
Paris has long been home to some of the world's top luxury brands, but there are some new kids on the block, and they're not from where you might expect. In fact, all of these brands, covering everything from clothing to jewelry, are 100% made in China. Shangjia's prices are slightly lower than the neighboring Prada and Yves Saint Laurent, but the boutique's founder is determined to break the mold of Western thinking when it comes to just what China can produce.
For 30 years, the Western press has reinforced the idea that made in China represents something cheap, of mediocre or even bad quality, and copies. But we've forgotten that before the 20th century, made in China represented some of the most refined and most beautiful objects and clothing in the world.
From Paris to Shanghai then, where change when it comes to the idea of luxury has started from the ground up. The brand that owns this factory started up its own production line, though you won't find any line workers cranking out carbon copies for a pittance here.
Everything's organized in modules, 3 or 4 people per section instead of 20 or 30 workers.
What's more, they're all qualified and earn €1,200 a month, 6 times more than China's minimum wage.
The strengths of our factory are personnel highly experienced in fashion. They'll have worked in this area for at least 4 or 5 years.
It's pushed up expenses to 5 times what a normal production line might cost. That's of little consequence when faced with China's growing appetite for luxury, though. The brand's clothing retails at anything from €1,000 to €4,000 at its 200 boutiques nationwide. Domestically, it's been a huge success, but Icicle has far larger ambitions. It wants to crack the international market. For that, it's back to Paris to take advantage of the city's savoir-faire, where it's opened a design studio and taken on top French stylists.
For a client to see a Chinese brand that's taken the step of opening an office in Paris, it speaks towards luxury.
Luxury and investment in the future, with the firm's first European boutiques set to open in the French capital.
Well, that's it for this edition. I'll see you again next time on Access Asia.